when the application starts, it shows the screen, and there's a panel for the authorization where the person has to log in. And at this moment, I'm logging in as an administrator.
All I'm seeing on the screen right now says download complete. Your meeting will start shortly.
Okay, Wayne, then you need to look
data information and import, report, and database administration. Initially, I'm coming to the laboratory data information and import. This is a screen which is made to import the information received from the laboratories. Here we have provided the provision to import from the various laboratories, and it will store the information received from laboratory, date, sample ID, sample type with station, accidents, amp total, calculated, place amp total. The values of what is received from the laboratory, that gets stored here up to the lab report, and after that it brings the total think tank level, amp think tank level on the basis of the date of the import, average calculation value, cumulative average, background average, total trigger accidents, it calculates that thing, and in the amphibial asbestos it goes for the same thing. For importing the data,
just a quick question, Shachi. Do you mind if I chime in?
yeah, please.
Just something that jumped out at me right away is the values for the background average for both odal and amphibole asbestos. They seem to be fluctuating back and forth. They should really be one constant value. Is that something that is just
background average is coming basis on the station. Station, every station is having its own value, and on that basis the background average is coming here.
Yeah, actually, let me ask a question about that. I was assuming, I'm assuming, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong, that those are actually the concentration estimates from the baseline data for each of the stations. Is that correct, or is that not correct?
That's correct.
That is correct. Okay, so it should be a little bit different. It shouldn't be zero unless there were no data collected, but it should say less than a certain number instead of zero. But then it should be a little different for each of the stations.
But yeah, if we could scroll back maybe to see the first column to get an idea, because it seems like if the trig and target levels are all the same, that wouldn't really mesh with it being multiple stations. That makes sense.
Well, yeah, he hasn't put the real values in yet apparently for the trig and targets. But
okay, just making sure, because that could have been just not a fact. All right, sorry for interrupting. Thank you.
When we import the data, and let me show you the actual data, how it is stored, basically. The actual data is stored in this way. This is the information, what is received from the laboratory. I'm going to import the same content here.
By the way, Sanjit, I just want to let you know that you already have the tables with the values for the target and trigger levels, and I can easily put one together for the background averages so that you can just plug those in.
So it is making the calculation and bringing the data here. Once data is imported, data is ready for the reporting purpose. And if it is having also a query system, if someone wants to find out a report data for a specific station, they can have a look to the station data. If they want to look between the range of a date, they can have a look between the dates also, from April 28th to show data. They can have a look at the entire data. If they want to have a look for the specific one, they can have a look for the specific one also. And on that basis, the user can take out a report also on the basis of the criteria what the data has been shown on the screen. And to come back, it's refresh the screen, it becomes to a normal stage. Now coming out from this one, going to the report. When the user opens this particular report, by default it shows the entire station's data, total asbestos graph, amphibials asbestos graph here. And to process for a specific station, the person has to go for the station. For suppose that I want to process for the station 5, show data. It is showing the station information for the station 5, and it will generate the graph. Now to go for the station 3, turn, the graph is ready. It will show the entire data also, then the graph for both. It is also having a provision to export the information to Excel sheet. If I say export, is processing the report at this moment. It will bring the report in this manner in the Excel sheet. And further, if someone wants to print a graph, we'll show the graph. Further, now I'm coming to the, any questions here? Hello?
Yes. So if no one else has a question right off the bat, one of my questions is going to go ahead and be, it looked like when we were sorting the data, the example that you gave, P11, there was quite a few that had basically had the verification samples also included. So when you drop down and select P11, it would show both the final result and the additional analyses that were included to make the final result, to sort of get the final result. Is there a way to sort of weed those out when it comes to graphing? Are those getting graphed as well, or are those left out because they don't have a a total value and an amperable value?
Hey, Kevin, I'm not sure that they understand what the difference is there. So maybe we should go back to the graph and talk to them, to the plot of all the data and show them which samples are to be excluded.
Yeah, that's it. You go to the data page, I think that'll be easiest.
Okay.
So, for example, if you go ahead and scroll to your left, all right. So it doesn't appear that there's any for A3, but when we were looking at P11, there was quite a few of them. There's one on the previous page before you typed in A3.
Just do it without sorting on anything. So right now, just look at all the data rather than just for A3. That would probably show it.
Sorry, actually, I didn't get your question. Where, what exactly the question is?
Okay, Sanjit, right now you're sorting on sample station A03. When we showed all the data for all the samples?
Yes, so for all the samples for AA is station 3.
No, just for all the samples without regard to which station. Okay, can you make it just show all the data for all the stations?
Okay. All the stations, this is showing all the stations?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So if we're, my screen's jumping around. Let's wait till it settles a second. But so for example, if you look down the third column from the left, you'll eventually come to two samples that both say P11. They're both from, I guess the sample ID is different, but the date is May 4th, 2012. Is there a way to ensure that, other than, I guess, leaving those blank, is there a way to ensure that those don't get graphed in with everything else? I wanted to make sure that wasn't going to be a artifact.
Let me explain what's going on here. Okay, if you go down, like Kevin was saying, about 3/4 of the way down, you'll see two items that have the station being P11.
Yeah.
You see those? Okay. Okay, and what those are is there was an original sample analysis, and then there was a quality control analysis where we reanalyzed it a second time. And you can see, if you go over to the right, that there are two different initial structure counts for those.
Yes.
And so, and then we have a program in our LIMS system where we choose which one and combine the data to come up with a final test result, which would be what you see on the topmost row for P11 on the left-hand side. So really, probably if you just do a query on this, but you exclude, when you do the graphing, you exclude where there's empty values in these fields, in these fields here. Okay.
Actually, a better way to do it would be to sort on test number and exclude any values that aren't 1, because then later.
At this moment, it's not having calculated values in this particular row. So you want that this row should be eliminated while creating a graph.
Yes.
Okay.
Just you want the data there, but we don't want it to be there for the graph.
Okay.
Yeah, but I worry about if it's blank, maybe it should be 0 or something. That's why I would suggest that you just make the decision based on the column that's headed test number.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, right. Maybe make test number always be 1. Right.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that will be a great part. That will be a great part. So we are supposed to take into consideration only where the test number is 1.
When you do the graphs, yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. I mean, the later phases, we're going to show you how to deal with those, but right now, just ignore them.
Okay. Okay.
my thought was, hi, this is Sasha. Why wouldn't we just give them an additional filter for test number,
yes, sir. We can provide here that filter for the test number also. That they can eliminate. That they will be able to eliminate that particular section. Test number. Okay. Thank you, Sasha. Thank you very much.
Sure.
And maybe this has already been addressed, but also just wanted to make sure that the those blank values weren't going to skew any averages that we calculate based on them as well. So even if we're able to filter out those blank rows, I just wanted to touch base and make sure that those aren't skewing averages one way or another.
My thought was about by being the graph standard practice is the graph represents everything that's all the data that's being displayed. So I would hate to put the logic in the graph of doing some kind of filtering when standard process is to filter the data that you see down to what you want and then graph what you see and execute the graph against the data that you've filtered.
Okay, so in other words, if you filter out all test numbers other than one, then the average will ultimately be calculated based on only those numbers where test number is 1.
Yes, yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay, so after the filtering, the averages would be updated basically?
After the filtering, the average should not contain a blank record if you have filtered the blank records out.
Okay,
right.
So, but I guess the question would be, because what we talked about in the examples that we have is the preceding 30 days, and we want the averages to be calculated on the entirety of the project. So if we go through and take our 30-day snapshot, is that cumulative average going to only include those 30 days, or is it going to include every data point ever? In that case, will those blank squares be included in that cumulative average?
No, it is going to cover the 30 days.
I see. Okay.
Okay, so the cumulative average needs to be from the beginning of the project to date, basically. So I just want to make sure we reconcile those two sort of competing forces.
Okay. So the cumulative average you want to calculate from the starting of the project.
Correct. Exactly.
Okay. That should be I would put that in as an option as opposed to the 30 days that you're looking at, or the beginning since the beginning of the project. These are features that we're starting to build back in that are built into later phases. But okay.
Okay. So let's definitely have a point of phase 1 is a goal is to get this into Kevin's hands as soon as possible, so that we can then start moving on the next phase, and so Kevin can be using the system. So Kevin, is that something you need before you can use the system?
Yeah, because that's all this data is going to get reported out to the public, basically, and so we want to make sure. I mean, accuracy is by far the most important component, because what I'm doing by hand right now, I'm 100% sure is accurate. Because we're going through and making sure everything's accounted for, and so when we start using this, it's very important that those artifacts are weeded out from the beginning, and then we can go forward using it.
Kevin, here I'm having a question. When we are making a cumulative average, in that one, we are making the average on the basis of the average calculation value. And we are bringing the value here. And because when we are taking an average, it is the total cumulative sum of the average values and the total count of the rows, basically. So do you want to keep the zeros to be part of the average part, or do you want to eliminate that one? Zeros value.
So basically, we don't want to have these blank results from verification tests skewing the average. So in this case, that should not be a 0. It should just be. It shouldn't be accounted for in the average.
No. Why this is 0? Because it's a test number 2. That's why it's showing like that. Otherwise, it will not be 0. But in case, suppose that if average calculation value comes 0 in the test 1.
Yeah, so that should never be the case. That would be I mean, maybe Mark and Wayne can
well, all right.
but that should never be the case.
Well, yeah. Let me actually. This is because I presume the way you're averaging is you're averaging concentrations. That's not ultimately how this will be correctly calculated. How this will be ultimately correctly calculated is you'll be looking at counts and summing up all the counts and then multiplying them by the reciprocal of the sum of the analytical sensitivities, which is the correct way to do this. But again, since this is a shortcut, what will happen is that 0 won't be there because that has a test value, a test number of 2. So that should come out. You'll filter that out. On the other hand, if there is a real 0 for a test number of 1, you should average it in.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, it sounds like that might be a phase 2, phase 3 type issue, because when we're just taking these results that we're getting that are being reported by Mark, I don't believe we're ever going to be getting a result of 0 for a number 1 for a test number 1, and if that's the case, I mean, even if
you see structures for every single sample?
No, but they reported out as less than the detection limit. In those cases, we use the detection limit, sort of presenting a worst case sample, or excuse me, worst case scenario.
Oh no, okay, now wait. Okay, that's a problem, Kevin, because you're going to end up with different cumulative average numbers than the correct way to do the calculation. So trying to do this shortcut and do it using different math that's not the appropriate way to do the math can be a problem.
Okay, I understand that. The main concern right now I'm worried about for this database is making sure that these areas that are left blank don't end up skewing our cumulative average using the format that we have right now, independent of whether or not it's being calculated 100% technically correct. But
the point is if you're using, see, this is because those are not detection limits. This is analytical sensitivity, and this is what I keep telling everybody. There's a difference in these kinds of data. Asbestos data are not censored data, and so that's why that's an analytical sensitivity, not a detection limit. It is incorrect to use half the detection limit or the detection limit or whatever when you calculate averages. You're overestimating the averages in that case. And if you start doing that now and that goes up on the website and then later we correct it, people are going to ask questions.
I understand, Wayne, and that's maybe a discussion for another day, because what I'm mostly concerned about right now is the integrity of the database, not necessarily the actual sort of technical function that's going on in the background. I want to make sure for I guess reproducibility's sake that when we do use these functions that are built into the database, whatever those functions may be, that we make sure that they are accounted for correctly and that we don't have blank cells offsetting whatever the calculation ends up being when we go ahead and filter out results. That's what I'm concerned about. That's what I'm trying to adjust with Sunsheet.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Well, that's what I was saying. If you filter by test number and stay with 1, then it should be okay. But I guess we are going to have to talk about how to deal with zero concentration when you calculate the average. So that does need to be answered then.
And yeah, and I think the most important thing that I'm trying to get at right now is the fact that when we do filter, we're going to be filtering for the previous 30 days for these graphs that we're going to be putting out. Right. And I want to make sure that the cumulative average calculation that's going to be based off the entirety of the data won't be, it will be based on the entirety of the data, not that filtering segment. So I want to make sure those two things are on the same page.
At this moment, it is working on the data, what is selected there, and it's making an average. But we will change that thing. It will consider the entire database table into the consideration, and we'll create a new average for that. We will modify that thing.
Okay, excellent. So just to follow up, Sunsheet, so the cumulative average will be based on everything. It won't include the 0 values that are in there now. So the cumulative average won't include data from test number 2 and greater.
No, 2. Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Sunsheet.
Although it may include 0 values. For example, there is a 0 value on this page on. There's a number of 0 values. The 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th line should be 0 concentration, right?
Okay, based on the based on what's reported from the lab? Because I'm seeing less than 0.000, excuse me, 0.00044, less than 0.00032, so on and so forth. Should those
Yeah,
be
in fact,
zero?
wait a minute. I'm trying to understand something here because, yeah, let's look at the, okay, look at line. By the way, okay, I just realized something else. The blanks don't have a location, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. They have no location.
Okay, so that's not a problem. So if you look at the third line, there's no concentration there, but then you give the average concentration value as non-zero. How does that work?
Well, so the result is in the second column from the left for total concentration as structures per centimeter cubed.
Oh, it says less than.
That's
Okay,
what
very good.
Yeah, and the detection
Okay,
limit
but see, then there.
is 0.
Okay, so the point is, I see, right, so less than. So for the cumulative average, if you're averaging all zeros, then what would be is you'd have a less than the sum of the reciprocal of the analytical sensitivities for each individual value. If they're not all zero, then we have to understand how we're doing these calculations and whether they match the correct way to do them or not. Okay,
Wayne,
so that's something that's got to be worked through.
Is that a calculation that you can give us? Because it sounds like it's not just a straight cumulative average, right? You're doing something when there's a zero, and there's something not when there's not a zero, and then also how does that affect the 30-day?
Yeah, I've already given you those equations in those table data files, right? I mean that's why trying to do this and putting the cart before the horse is a little bit of a problem. Yeah.
So the question. Okay. So that being said, is this what can we do for phase 1?
Well, I have to understand how you're calculating the average, and then I can give you another way to do it, basically.
No, we are just adding the total values and dividing it by the rows.
Adding the total number of values and dividing it by the rows.
The number of count of rows. Yes.
Yeah.
That is
Kevin, do you know? Kevin, are the analytical sensitivities from all samples pretty much the same? Do we all know? Are they very close?
I mean, they sort of randomly walk from between 0.00030 and 0.00032.
So they're roughly the same, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so
how about on the website when you publish this data, you footnote that cumulative average is calculated by this function, way, and it is prone to an error plus or minus 10%, which will be corrected within the next release in 30 days. Because we're taking a shortcut to the absolute perfect way that we're going to calculate this in phase 2. There's going to be some difference.
I mean, also different samples will be because the samples we're throwing out now are going to be included later, but included in the proper way with the doing the QC analysis.
Right. So can't we just disclaim or say that there's going to be a bit of a fuzziness to it?
That's not a bad idea.
Maybe that's what Dan Wade would prefer, but we haven't had after going through all these, he's ultimately, my understanding is he's ultimately the person who signs off on these things that are going on the website. So maybe that's something you should run by him.
Who's that?
All right, you want me to ask Dan about that? I can do that.
Well, I'm just saying that what I've been sending to them so far in all this database that I handed off to them. We've been through a couple meetings with Dan and basically and Kevin Braun, and so because even though I'm the person who's doing all the input-output stuff, it's mostly their Kevin Braun and Dan's discretion, I guess, and they would be the proper people to talk to about what exactly is putting on there. I'm just responsible for the inner workings of the database and making sure everything is crunching correctly. Yeah.
Wayne, who's Dan? Who?
He's with the SFPUC.
And what's his last name?
Wade. He's basically our collective client. Is that a fair way to say it, Kevin?
That's my understanding. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe so I would say let's
I'll talk to him.
You talk to him, and then let's revisit this issue about cumulative average, and then move on to the next issue, please.
Okay. We can do that.
Okay. So after cumulative average, so we got into this discussion. We were talking about the graph and does it exclude what it excludes and how it's calculated. Are there other calculations that are similarly could be not as perfect in phase 1 and will be vetted out in phase 2 that we should add to the list that Wayne's going to talk to Dan about?
Well, the only calculations that I can think of is you'll be calculating the cumulative average. Calculating the concentration for single samples shouldn't be a problem. It looks like that's already okay. Then the only other thing is you'll be doing the comparison to see if there's an exceedance, and that also should be straightforward. So I think we're okay. What do you think, Kevin? Is there anything I'm missing?
Not that jumps out at me right away. I suppose if the background average is something that's static at this point, maybe we could include this sort of higher order calculation now going forward, because it is a static value. It's not going to change over time. That might be an easy thing to include as opposed to the just basic average that I've been doing for the background. But again, that's your discretion, Dan's discretion, and Kevin's discretion.
The background averages, yeah, I can just give them a table of that. Well, where did you get these background averages? Did you calculate them or what?
Yeah, those are calculated by basically from the background sampling, the same way that the cumulative average is calculated.
Okay, because I already have those numbers also. I think I already presented them to everybody. But you independently calculated those?
No, those are just based off the results that we got from the lab, and that's the average value that we received from the lab over that time period.
But did you average over samples, or did you, do the procedure where you add up the counts and divide by the sum of the reciprocals of the analytical sensitivities?
No, I just it's basically an average per result. Average based on the number of results. The same way that the cumulative average is calculated.
Again, since the analytical sensitivities of all the individual samples are very close to each other, that way of doing it shouldn't give a huge difference anyway. But I think I already have a table of that, and maybe maybe we could just compare your numbers and my numbers, and maybe just use those other numbers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's great. I would direct that question to Kevin to go over that with him, because I have my database that I put together. They've gone over and stuff like that. So any changes would need to come from that.
So this is Sasha. What do we have left here that that we need to cover in order to besides the average cumulative average calculation that we're going to vet out? Can you start using this today, Kevin?
Well, so I have a couple other concerns. If we could take a look at the graph real quick.
Well, before he can use this, you need to make the couple of changes that we did speak about today.
Right. Or maybe instead of use is not the right word, but test. Or in fact, what is, Kevin, do you think you'll run both in parallel? Do your spreadsheet calculations and run the application, the database application in parallel?
As far as I'm concerned, I'm going to continue doing the sort of manual application that I've been doing until this is completely vetted and sort of finalized because I don't want to sort of meld the two simultaneously and get, I don't know, just introduce a lot of gremlins into the situation. So what I would tell you right now is until this is dialed in, I would continue to use the manual graphing. Also because there's a couple of things that I wanted to show you on the graph as well.
Okay, let's go to the graph.
Kevin here, one more question here.
Yes.
When we are talking about the average calculation, as you mentioned that it will be taking into the consideration the average calculation value from the beginning of the project. Will it be based on station or the entire project?
So
averages will be station-wise?
Sorry?
Average will be station-wise or entire?
Yes, it's an average calculated per station. So only the results at, for example, station PU1 would go into the cumulative average for P1, and they wouldn't. They wouldn't cross.
Now I'm coming to the one other level of this program where we are going to talk about the total think tank level, AMP think tank level, and the background average total asbestos, background average amphibial asbestos. When we had a discussion last time, it was mentioned that the background averages are based on the station and they remain constant.
Correct.
Okay? And when we are talking about the think tank level, total and AMP, this information will be provided by Wayne and Mark. So to overcome that situation, we have created a section in the database administration, and it is having the station information and showing the total stations and the average and the values there.
What's ACV? ACV.
Like the average calculation value?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Okay, wait a minute. Average calculation value.
No, not average calculation. Sorry, not average calculation value. This is a background. This is basically this is a background average. Background average.
Well, let me suggest the following. You're going to want to have a table to pick out the trigger and target levels for amphibole and for total asbestos, as well as the background average concentrations. If you can just send me an Excel file with blanks, I can fill that out and send it back to you, and you'll have that, those numbers. You understand what I'm saying?
For the think tank level, what we have done on the date basis, we are maintaining these levels.
No, but those are not the right. But they're not the right levels. We have to put the right ones in.
No. I'm just telling the logic here.
Okay.
Date-wise, we are keeping the total think tank level and the asbestos think tank level. And while importing, it picks up the maximum date value. It picks the maximum date value. Suppose that today we are importing some data. It will pick the value from 25th June 2011 because this is the maximum date and these are the levels available with us.
For now, that's fine. Yes.
And about the background, every station is having backgrounds constant values, and these will be stored against each and every station. While importing, it will pick the values about the background. Background, what is that? Background.
Yeah, but wait a minute, Sanjay. I think you're confused about one thing. Go back to the trigger and target levels.
Okay.
Those differ for each location.
Those differ for each location. That means they are station-wise.
Yes.
Okay. These are all station-wise. Okay. Because while having access sheet, I was slightly confused about this thing because this value was changing. But I was slightly confused on that part.
For right now, they're not going to change, but they are different for each station.
Okay. So we will provide the provision here that for every e-state, it will store the value on the basis of station and the values string tank level and the age asbestos string tank level there in the database. We will provide that feature here.
Right. I'll provide an Excel spreadsheet that for every station has the target and trigger levels and also has the average concentration, so I can provide that. And then you all can, I guess Kevin will have to compare the backgrounds that you calculated with the ones I calculated. Probably there would be very small differences at most.
Okay, that's fine.
But what about the Wayne? What about the background averages? They are also based on station.
Correct.
And it is are you maintaining this information date-wise or constant for a station?
No, that's constant. That will not change.
That will not change. Okay. That means it is fine.
And for right now, for phase 1A, for what we're doing right now, the target and trigger levels won't change either.
Okay. So there's a small change here we have to do with the average, and I will send you a sheet, or just to send us the sheet. We will the way you have maintained it at your end about the think tank level and the background averages. We will take update
Yeah,
that.
you actually already have the information, but I'll put it in a single spreadsheet for you.
Please, sir. So this is all what you have created.
Kevin, do you have any comments?
Yeah. So for if we're done adjusting that, I was going to go ahead and make a comment on the graph. This is a great function for being able to graph out the data, I guess, internally. If this was intended to meet the reporting to the public goal, there's quite a few, sort of layout changes that would need to happen, and a lot more information that would need to be included. And I don't know if that's something that's possible to do. I know you guys have the example graphs that I've been putting together, and they include basically short blurbs about what each value means, you have the information about the different lines and stuff like that. Is there any way you could include sort of that legend outside of labeling each line with more information, as well as the title for each graph?
Hold on 1 second. What is the intent of this report? Or what is not the intent, but the do you intend to take this report that we're looking at and make it available on the web straight from this, what we're looking at?
Not necessarily. That wasn't the goal was either have a Excel spreadsheet output that matches what we've been inputting into our sort of graphing function.
Right.
What Sanchit showed us earlier doesn't really fit that. It just showed up. I don't know if we ever even got to that stage. It looked like Excel crashed before.
This is the output. This is the output. What way that it will show the output there?
Right. That's the goal, right? Of phase 1 is to get an Excel output that you'll then graph.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah. So then this right here, if this matches the sort of the tables that I've been giving you and has all the correct values, then I can go ahead and copy and paste this into what we already have and use that going forward. But
is that something you could try with our current output, just to see if there's any that's matching up?
I could go ahead and test it out and give you some feedback on what works and what doesn't.
Great.
Yeah, but again, the most important part is sort of resolving those working issues first. Yeah.
Right,
before
we're
we
on
go
it.
forward using it.
What I would like to do is get your feedback today so that we can take our action items, combine them with your feedback, and then for the next walkthrough have all of it completed.
Yeah, I'm already well behind schedule, so I don't think I'm going to be able to have a chance to do it today. I can try to sit down tomorrow morning first thing and take a look at it, but I wouldn't plan on being able to have it back to you today.
Okay, so by noon tomorrow?
Yeah, I can definitely test it out tomorrow and give you some quick feedback. I want a ton of time to sit down and explore everything, but I can get a pretty good idea.
And then how about Friday for another walkthrough? Are you available on Friday?
Yeah, I can try to be. Hopefully that day there won't be any other meetings, so both Bradley and Kevin might also be available as well.
Okay, great. Well, we have a 9 o'clock already set up for that, so
Okay.
if we can get your feedback on the spreadsheet graphing piece by tomorrow at noon, we'll wrap those changes in for this Friday morning's walkthrough.
Okay, that sounds good. I'll be able to take a look at it tomorrow morning and let you know what I think.
Any other areas of concern or observation?
Hello?
Yeah, Mark?
Yeah, I just had a question about, there's some issues with some formatting, things like that. Are you going to give me a copy so that I can give some suggestions about the possible?
Yes. Today we will provide you a copy for this thing.
Okay. Great.
So we're going to give a copy to Mark. We're going to Sanjeet, we're going to export, email Kevin G and export.
No, let's cover the changes about the average calculation, Shasha, because that is going to and also we have to put the test part, this filter also.
Okay.
Let's put that thing also, and after that it will be giving the right graph options.
Okay.
Otherwise it. So let's make the changes today.
Right,
as Mark is requiring just to have a look and where the changes he requires, he wants to suggest those things. That is fine. And meanwhile, tomorrow we'll be ready for the discussion with Mark also about what the changes are required, what the labels are required. So we can discuss tomorrow about that.
Okay. Mark, so if we give you a copy today, you'll be available tomorrow?
Yeah, okay, I can do that.
Okay.
Natasha, while I have you, it'd be great if I could get a copy of the database as well so I could practice exporting it on my own and make sure that whole system is good as opposed to just getting an Excel output and then plugging it in.
So we'll give you a copy after we rope a few of our changes into it, and we'll at the same time that we give you the export file.
Okay, excellent.
One more thing I would like to clarify here, that we need the import file, Excel file, in a specific format, and I'm going to that. This is actual file basically. This is the actual file, and it's having a raw data. But it was observed that multiple columns are having the same name. So it was difficult. So for that purpose, we changed the name here, and we created a final template from our end. It is the same, but the structure is same. What Mark is sending, only the first line has to be changed like this. Copy paste while importing the data.
Okay, yeah.
I don't anticipate any issue. Oh, sorry.
Okay, I was just going to say, okay, what we can do, I mean, what I would imagine would happen here is that we would stop sending some of the, the summary report that we send you, Kevin, that we would just send you this raw data file, and we would make sure that it is in the format that is necessary for importing. and then you could just get it and import it. Does that make sense? That's how we would go?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. The main goal from you is to have the output on the back end match the format that has gone forward, and I'll be able to play around with that and figure that out. As long as you are able to provide the data in this specific input format, I don't think that that impacts my work at all.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Kevin?
Uh-huh.
When I finish this spreadsheet, with all the values in it, should I'll send it to you also. Or I guess, what are we? We're just putting everything in the Dropbox? Is that how this is working?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll put everything in the Dropbox. If you pick that up and compare the background levels, hopefully they'll be very close and we don't even have to worry about it. But it'd be nice just to have someone do a quick check of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. I don't have access to the Dropbox because I only have a PUC computer that has internet access. So if you could, I suppose, email it to both me and Kevin Braun, and we can both have a look and
okay.
check
Do I
actually
have your email address?
It should be on some of these emails going back and forth, but I can give it to you real quick if you have a pen and paper.
Okay.
I'll put it up on the GoToMeeting.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Thanks, Sasha.
Okay.
And if you go, and I'm going to go ahead. Dropbox is getting a little, as we brought the Dropbox. What I would like to do is, I'm going to create a folder with today's date. Anything we talk about for today, please drop it in that folder. Dropbox is getting pretty convoluted, and we'll eventually have to go through into baseline and a bunch of this stuff as we start phase 2. But just for today, to keep it straight, I'm just going to create a new folder for today inside of Dropbox. Please take your files, email them also, but please drop a copy into Dropbox.
Okay.
Okay, so Mark, you'll adjust your export file to have these column names. Is that where we left off?
Correct.
The structure is same of what Mark is providing, only the column name, first column row, in the first row, we have changed the names. For example, here, CHRYS1, both the columns were having same name. So we have made it 1, 2, F1, F2, like that.
Mm-hmm. Sanchit, is that in that file that you're looking at? If I was to give Mark a copy of it, is that the version that's in Dropbox that says?
Yes, sir. Along with the software, we will send this file also, Sasha, the sample.
Okay. Okay. I'll rely on you to to do that then.
Yes.
Okay. So we have quite a few open issues. I don't think I tracked all of them, but I think between
minor tweaks are there now, not the major minor.
No major. But there's a lot of loose ends, and so just so while I have everybody listening, this is kind of why I have carved out meetings on the calendar Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 o'clock, is to always keep a placeholder available to discuss these. So if people who have action items people who have action items, if you can please make the next meeting, that would be very helpful. So, of course, Mark, Help for Access, Wayne, Kevin G, that'd be great. I'll keep us moving forward.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find a way to attend or get somebody to cover if there's something in the way. So this Friday is the next step. It sounds like integral.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. We're very fast in turnaround, so I wouldn't. So what I would say is right now your presence is going to really be needed in order to get phase 1 closed. And then once we deliver to you, then we won't then your time won't be as required. But right now it's critical.
Okay, yeah, I'll speak with Jack and see if I can have him cover for me on Friday, so I can make sure to be ready.
Excellent. Sanchit, do we have any more questions for Kevin?
No, sir. No, sir. No.
Mark, do you have any questions?
No, it looks good. I just want to take a look at the data.
And Wayne, you're going to you're going to call Dan and see about. You're going to call Dan.
Yes, I am.
Okay, great.
And then I'll also send that spreadsheet around.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Station information with the averages, not the averages. What is that?
Background average and the target.
Background averages. Yes, the target tracking time. Yes.
Wayne, we should probably have a discussion beforehand because I know you were assuming that analytical sensitivity stay the same, but with these stopping rules or things like that, that's going to throw things off. Crissapier can be different from amphibole. There can be a bunch of things in there that you're going to have to consider.
I don't. I'll have to go back and look, but I don't think I can. I assumed that they were the same. I think I actually already had the original data, but if not, I'll give you a call.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Okay. Jeff, I'm going to unmute you now. Is there anything, Jeff?
The phone wasn't working anymore at the site to let somebody in that meeting in, that's all. Yeah, but it got back up, so no big deal.
Jeff, I'm going to go ahead and remute you. Let's see. Anybody else? Nope, that's it. Sanchit, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
Great.
All
So we'll meet again on Friday at 9 a.m.
Sounds good.
Okay, good.
Excellent.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you all for participating. Very much appreciate it.
Thank
Sasha,
you.
9 a.m. We are with Prada, Sasha.
Take care.
Thanks,
Great.
Wayne.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Wayne. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Kevin.
All right.
I'm looking at our schedule. Well, I have BV at 9 o'clock on Friday. I don't have.
Yes. Yes. No, but Prada, I'm having a meeting.
You're having a meeting. That's the day
Yes.
schedule.
Yes.
We're gonna let's. I'm gonna end the meeting and whoops.